It's Friday, September 24. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gill. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries has partnered with GK Insurance to provide disaster insurance to farmers and fisherfolk. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Audley Shaw shared the details while providing an update on the sector in the House of Representatives this week. The update concerns the state of the crop sector following the recent passage of tropical storms Grace and Ida.
Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Audley Shaw says the sector is vulnerable to the impact of weather-based disasters.
This has resulted, of course, in estimated losses of $196 billion between 2004 and 2017. Again, in October of 2020, a significant period of sustained rainfall resulted in approximately 3,000 hectares of crops valuing $2.5 billion being lost, impacting approximately 14,000 farmers in that short period.
He notes that based on the assessment of the damage from the recent passage of tropical storms Grace and Ida, the total estimated cost required for recovery of the sector is approximately $2 billion. According to Minister Shaw, the ministry has redirected financial resources from the Production Incentive Program to provide immediate relief and support the recovery of the sector. The ministry has also put aside funds to aid farmers and fisherfolk who subscribe to the GK Insurance Parametric Rain, Drought and Wind Insurance Scheme.
The ministry, in supporting the introduction of the insurance policy, has provided $5 million to incentivize farmers and fisherfolks to subscribe to the parametric crop and livestock insurance scheme.
He says the funds will be used to subsidize the initial premium for the first 1,000 farmers who subscribe.
Of the 1,000 farmers, $3,500 will each be allocated for the first 700 males and $5,000 for the first 300 females and youths below the age of 29.
The Agriculture Minister says the immediate recovery of the sector post the August 2021 tropical storms is crucial, as the agricultural sector in Jamaica accounts for 7.1% of gross domestic product, contributes approximately 15.2% of the country's employment, and directly impacts the livelihood of about 218,000 registered farmers. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
The Police Federation will have to wait to hear the ruling on the lawsuit it filed seeking the payment of overtime for its members. The Federation filed the lawsuit in 2019 in the Supreme Court against the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of National Security, the Attorney General, and the Police Commissioner, alleging that its members have been working more than 40 hours per week without being paid. The Federation argues that this was in breach of the 2008 Heads of Agreement. The parties agreed in April to hold settlement discussions and report back to the court on September 23, but a resolution has not yet been decided. Some persons living with lupus and autoimmune disease are hesitant about taking the COVID-19 vaccine. Health professionals at the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica are also concerned about the delay, and they're calling on lupus patients to contact them and get answers to any questions they might have. Many lupus patients are holding off on being vaccinated, citing the need to speak with their doctors first. President of the Lupus Foundation of Jamaica, Dr. Desiree Tullow-Reid, says while she respects that view, they don't have to wait.
Patients with autoimmune conditions like lupus they're in a special situation because they have an immune system that is overreactive in some ways, but yet it's less effective with coping with infections. The other thing is that many patients are taking medications for their lupus that also impair the immune response. So both of those factors can contribute to the reason that persons with lupus may be more at risk should they get COVID-19.
Lupus is an autoimmune disease that can cause joint pain, fever, skin rashes, and organ damage. There's currently no cure for it, so the risk of severe reaction to the coronavirus is high.
Many of them actually want to take the vaccine, but many are waiting to actually be able to speak to their doctors first. They want to get their doctor's permission. Is it okay to have the vaccine in my condition? Is there anything I need to do with my medications? So many times they just have questions. And so this is one of the challenges. So for instance, you know, this is a time when sometimes accessing your doctor can actually be more difficult. With the recent surge, for instance, affecting public clinics, private clinics, people just have questions and that they can't get the answers to. And so they're waiting until their appointment comes up. And one of the things is that your appointment may take 2 or 3 months to come up. And in that period, you can be at risk. You can actually contract the infection. So that's the problem.
Dr. Tola Reid says patients and the public are invited to view educational programming and information provided on the Foundation's website and social media account.
So when people want to know if it's safe while having lupus, some want to know if it's safe with their medications, if there's anything they need to do with their medications beforehand. Some want to know, you know, is there a particular vaccine that I should take? There are 3 different ones available. Which one should I choose? So very often people just have questions and they're waiting to get the answers. So that's one of the issues we want to address at Lupus Foundation. Obviously, we, for those people who are members, they're getting our newsletters every month. They are getting our communications. We have a number of online programs. For instance, we have a question and answer program called Ask the Expert Live that just answers questions that lupus patients have. This is monthly. So we've had on guests answering specific questions about the vaccine. So, but you know, not everybody is privy to that kind of information. And so this is why, you know, a lot of medical practitioners who are involved with lupus care really just want to get the word out. We want people to know that the vaccine works, it's safe, you can take any one, you can take it with your meds, and you don't need your doctor's permission.
You can contact the Foundation's Learning Center or helpline for further information. Effective this Saturday, September 25, churches will be allowed to accommodate more worshippers. In a release on Wednesday from the Office of the Prime Minister, the number of people, including clergy and support personnel who may be physically present at any time at a place of worship, will be no more than 20. Or where more than 20 can be accommodated while maintaining the physical distancing requirement of a minimum of 6 feet between people, no more than 50 individuals. In justifying this amendment to the Disaster Risk Management Act, the OPM says it is in recognition of the importance of allowing in-person worship and not just virtual worship. Enigmatic, pioneer, genius, legend. These are some of the words used to describe the late music producer Lee Scratch Perry. Perry, who died on August 29 at the age of 85, was laid to rest at a family plot in the Francistown district of Caldwell on Thursday. Entertainment, Sport, Culture and Gender Minister Olivia Grange was among the attendees who paid tribute to a man whose unique expression made him a global reggae brand. Our own Marlon Samuels tells us more.
Rainford Hugh Perry, more popularly known as Lee Scratch Perry, or the Upsetter, was born in Hanover in 1936. He spent his formative years there before moving to Kingston. His mega influence in the music industry grew from his passion for music, his ability to think outside the musical box, and supporting, over a 60-year period, a range of artists including Bob Marley and the Wailers. In 2012, the Grammy Award-winning music pioneer was given an Order of Distinction for his contribution to reggae music. The renowned music promoter and record label founder died on Saturday, August 28 in Hanover.
Circumstances happened that he got injured and didn't get better, and was there. We was thinking he was suffering for about 4 days. And when I saw he's not getting better, we said let's get him to hospital, to put him to Switzerland. And you can only admit him from hospital to hospital. And when the emergency came to take him, he said, I want to go. I said, Lee, you're gonna have to go. We have to. You're not feeling good, and you cannot eat and drink, and you cannot sit down and nothing. And he said, I don't want to go. While we was waiting on emergency, I did pack up, everything ready. I was gonna drive before, because first time we got to hospital for some checkup. That's what happened, and everything was normal. I was driving behind, and then I packed up my 2 bags. We was going to go to Montego Bay. Other people was waiting, and my 2 friends, Rocky and Joe, that was helping me all these days, was gonna go sit in the ambulance.
Lee Scratch Perry reportedly got up from his bed on hearing the ambulance had arrived.
He stand up, he get up and say, give me camera. That was his last 5 minutes. Give me camera, give me camera. He took his camera and he get up on his own foot, start to turn around, exercise with his foot. And then he started to sweat, and they said, come, we're gonna go downstairs on the stretcher. He walked down the stairs on his own foot, and when he reached the entrance, it was there, his little magic garden where he was planting stuff. He just planted 2 trees of life. He held it on the wall and did not want to go and did not want to leave the wall. So he had 1 foot out, 1 foot in. They want to take him, push him on stretcher, and they could not because he was holding so strong. About 2 minutes, and then he just let go. Rocky grabbed him from behind, put him on the stretcher, but that was the moment when the spirit came out. I got that message and the exact thing what he was thinking just a week ago, because I was not even able to think. I was just in a shock. I still don't want to see the casket, because that is only the vehicle, it's not him.
He was 85 years old.
We must recognize the contribution he made in influencing the development of Bob Marley and the Wailers. His band, The Upsetter, became the Wailers, and he guided Bob Marley to the point where today Bob Marley is the most outstanding and the most iconic Jamaican musician, singer, songwriter. Even after his passing, he's larger than life. Scratch Perry, a pioneer of Jamaican music, has given us a lasting legacy in what he has created. And as I looked at him today, and although we're just looking at his remains, he continues to be that living art, both in style, in dress, in creative expression. What he has left with us.
Friends and well-wishers formed a guard of honor for Lee Scratch Perry's funeral procession on Thursday, September 23, 2021. The private funeral ended with a tribute from a family friend.
I came to Jamaica to do music, and within a few months of opening my recording studio and moving to Jamaica, Lee Scratch Perry walked into the yard at my studio and greeted me with happiness and thankfulness and appreciation for bringing such a studio to Negril. We recorded during a time when the Rise Up movie was being made, and he had done some production work in Kingston and came to finish doing the production work at my studio in Negril. During that time, I became acquainted and almost instantly became friends with Miri and with Lee, and had many occasions to enjoy meals together, enjoy parties together, enjoy dub plate sessions together. Lee became a very good friend.
The remains of Lee Scratch Perry was laid to rest in a family plot in Hanover. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
The Consumer Affairs Commission says it has secured approximately $4.2 million in refunds and compensation on behalf of aggrieved consumers over the period April to June of 2021. We get this plus our regular market updates in this edition of the Business Report with Gabriel Thompson.
The Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, says it has secured approximately $4.2 million in refunds and compensation on behalf of customers for the period April to June 2021. Communications specialist with the CAC, Dorothy Campbell, told the JIS News recently that the Commission handled 1,815 complaints for the financial year 2020-2021. She says this represents an increase of about 10.3% compared to the previous period. Ms. Campbell says the number does not include those complaints that are currently under investigation. Funds were recovered from the top 5 categories for refunds and compensation. These are electrical equipment and appliances, where nearly $1.8 million was recovered, furniture, approximately $1.3 million, other services, $605,000, computers and computer parts, $321,600, and utilities, $236,927. The money recovered by the CAC is paid directly over to the consumer with a refund or as compensation. For more information, contact the Commission at 876-906-5425 or email info@cac.gov.jm. In foreign exchange trading for Thursday, September 23, the US dollar sold for an average $148.24. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $117.92. The pound sterling traded for $205.95, and the euro sold for an average $176.53. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 371 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 93 stocks, of which 37 advanced, 35 declined, and 21 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 46 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for Blue Power Group Limited, Cargo Handlers Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Epley 7.5% preference shares. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with over 2.3 million units, followed by Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares with over 1.7 million units, and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with over 1.3 million units. In market data for oil prices steadied on Friday near a 2-month high above $77 a barrel, and were headed for a third straight week of gains, supported by global output disruptions and inventory draws. The rally was slightly dampened by China's first public sale of state crude reserves. Oil prices have been supported in recent weeks by major disruptions in U.S. Gulf Coast production following Hurricane Ida and other storms, disruptions which could last for months in some cases, that have led to sharp draws in U.S. and global inventories. Brent crude futures slid 3 cents to $77.22 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures lost 15 cents at $73.15 a barrel. Select tax offices will be open this Saturday, September 25, and every last Saturday of the month for the remainder of the 2021-2022 financial year. The Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ says this is subject to any announcements by the government on COVID containment measures. The tax authority is also reporting collections of over $223 million, which translates to approximately 17,000 payments across the select locations, which operate on the Saturday month ends since April. The following tax offices will operate this Saturday between the hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. St. Andrew, Montego Bay, Mandeville, Savannah Lamar, St. Anne's Bay, Old Harbor. The Portmore Tax Office will continue its usual weekly Saturday operations with adjusted business hours of 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Taxpayers will be able to access taxpayer service activities, including processing motor vehicle registration and other motor vehicle transactions, applying for a taxpayer registration number (TRN), dropping off documents for the renewal of their driver's license, and make tax and fee payments, as the tax authority says it continues to provide additional access to its services. Audit and compliance activities will not be available during these Saturday operations. And that does it for this extended edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
Over now to regional news. In the Bahamas, the government expects emergency funding will be needed to assist in the fight against COVID-19. This as the Davies-led cabinet met with health officials on Thursday. Jillian Gray has the details.
All appointments set, the Davis-led cabinet started out today by tackling one of the biggest challenges facing the country, COVID-19.
We have the health crisis, and I've asked Dr. Rodriguez to join us at our first meeting to update us on what's happening with the COVID pandemic, because unless we get that under control, everything else is lost.
Though COVID-19 was the focus today, Davis says they're working to balance getting the virus under control and fixing the economic crisis. Davis says his 22-member cabinet is up to the task.
We are a progressive government, and what we intend to do is to ensure we move this country and solve these problems.
The challenges are significant, and I see a strong and diverse team, and therefore I know that with our experience and with our skills, we will confront the challenges.
Transparency will be key, according to Davis, who says the plan is to make ministers available for interviews and give as much information as possible. The new health minister says there's a need for emergency funding as the healthcare sector needs resources and manpower immediately.
We have a lot of work to do. There's definitely a need for emergency funding. We have some of our suppliers as well as individuals involved in the fight who need to be paid. We have to look at where we are financially and begin to start the process to improve the manpower resources at these facilities so that we would be better able to move at a rapid rate and get our COVID situation, as well as to improve upon our primary healthcare facilities.
Dr. Darville says he saw healthcare workers to the point of exhaustion at South Beach Clinic, Grand Bahamas Clinic, and Princess Margaret Hospital. He'll tour the Family Island soon. While indicators point to a decrease in cases, Darville says they're not breathing a sigh of relief just yet.
We are seeing signs where the cases may be falling, but we are very mindful not to be too optimistic at this time, because that may be a direct result of lack of testing.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
In Grenada, projections for the winter cruise season are hanging in the balance. Christina John of GBN News tells us more.
It's more like, let's wait and see what happens. Minister for Tourism and Civil Aviation Clarice Modeste Cohen says cruise calls to Grenada and increased flights would depend on improvement in Grenada's present COVID-19 standing. 2 weeks ago, Grenada was placed on the U.S. Center for Disease Control's red list of countries to avoid travels to. With already a spoke in the wheel, what are the prospects for the cruise industry? The start of the winter cruise season is just 1 month away, and Grenada's present COVID-19 situation at the moment looks grim. Our news desk has been speaking with the tourism minister, who remains optimistic.
Have not been thrown out of the industry, we have our partners still continue to commit to coming into Grenada in terms of airlines, and the cruise lines have done similarly. It is up to us now what we do in Grenada and how we turn the situation around so that we do not miss such a big step that we fall through. I expect our situation will not stay as is, that it will improve. I have seen some improvement.
The minister says people's behavior in terms of adherence to the regulations will be a determining factor. The minister says on Grenada's end, they are preparing, and one such area is training and underground operations.
As you and all of us are aware in Grenada, our situation is not as attractive as it was in terms of the numbers of cases, in terms of the numbers of deaths and all of that, the infection rate and so on. Things have changed dramatically. So with that, coming to the end of October, we'll see what it looks for, because the winter season starts about November. So a lot would depend on that, on our performance in terms of how we manage the disease. And of course, I am counting on you to assist us in letting everybody know that we all have to play our roles to ensure that that we look better statistically than we are looking now.
Christina John, GBN News.
In St. Lucia, the deputy leader of the National Green Party is making a case for the return of COVID-19 wardens, albeit under a new name and a slightly different purpose.
A list of recommendations was highlighted by Deputy Leader of the National Green Party, Aaron Alexander, to the government of St. Lucia to bolster its efforts in the fight against the deadly pandemic fourth wave.
Bring back the COVID wardens, albeit under a different name, a more peaceful name. Example, COVID ambassadors, as was suggested by the Recover St. Lucia initiative many months ago.
Despite the controversy surrounding the deployment of the COVID-19 wardens to enforce adherence to the protocols, Alexander is convinced that rebranding the unit is the right move to help par down the COVID-19 numbers.
Or call them peace officers, as is stated in the Policing Act. They should have a fresh mandate of giving masks out to our people instead of arresting them for not wearing a mask, giving them a ticket for those who refuse to wear the mask after they have been given one. Also, they could be giving out the packages of the vitamins D, the vitamin C, and the zinc, giving it out to the people and not fighting. There should be no more fighting with our people over COVID protocol violations.
The deputy political leader is confident that his recommendations can help in reducing hospitalizations and deaths associated with COVID-19. Alexander is calling for a holistic approach to tackling the pandemic. While in opposition, the current administration contended that it was counterproductive to deploy police and the wardens in chasing suspected protocol violators. Upon entering office, the SLP government has moved to decriminalize protocol violations, instead touting plans to implement punitive measures such as fines and ticketing to enforce compliance. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
In sports, the fastest woman alive, Elaine Thompson-Herah, has dismissed reports that she has plans to leave the MVP track club and coach Stephen Francis, who has guided her development since 2014. News broke on Thursday of the purported split and comes just weeks after Thompson-Herah ended what was clearly her greatest season, having won 3 gold medals at the Tokyo Olympic Games, winning her 3rd Diamond League 100-meter title and running the 2nd fastest time ever in the 100 meters. The sprint queen appeared on the NBC magazine show Brother from Another with American journalists Michael Holley and Michael Smith and set the record straight. She said, quote, "You know what the news media is like. I am the fastest woman alive, so they're going to try to create some form of news to try and distract the world." End quote. Thompson-Herah explained that she is on a 1-month break and her absence from practice could have been the source of the rumors. And that's our package. You have just watched the news on PBCJ, the People's Station.